Hello, good afternoon. Hello,
Afternoon, Mbak Cecil.
Halo, good afternoon, Mbak Sisil.
good afternoon. We have 5 papers in this session, but we still have 3 presenters. So, Mbak Niken Savitri Anggraini, so, yeah. Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto, Bernadetta Pravita, and Penny Miliati Hutabarat. Okay, maybe each of the presenter can turn on the microphone so we can check the sound first.
Halo, Mbak. Good
Hello,
afternoon.
good afternoon, Ibu Penny.
Yeah.
Ibu Penny
Halo,
from
Mbak.
UI. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, Mbak Bernadetta Pravita. Yes,
Yeah.
from Binus University. Okay. And Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto, can you turn on the microphone and your camera?
I'm having a technical difficulty with
Oh,
my
it's okay.
video.
Okay.
That's okay. I'll set my virtual background off first.
Yeah, it's okay. As long as your voice can be listened very clearly, so I think it's okay.
Okay. Is that okay if I'm not using the virtual background because
No, it's okay. Yeah, because it's quite
okay.
difficult to put it on. Okay, listen. Okay, we will wait for we're waiting for another presenter, Bapak Yudi and Ibu Niken Savitri. Yeah, we'll wait for 2 more minutes and we will wait for another participants as well. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We already have Pak Yudi in here, and we still waiting for Bu Niken Savitri, so it's okay. Maybe she can join us later, but we should start the panel session now. So let me introduce myself. I am Cecilia Santi Praharsiwi. I am the moderator for this panel session, Media, Culture, and Society. I'm the lecturer of Communication Department at Majaya Yogyakarta University. So I will guide this discussion in this panel session. Thank you for coming in this session, Ibu Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto, Ibu Bernadetta Pravita Wahyuningtyas, Bapak Yudi Priyanto, dan Ibu Penny Meliati Huta Barat. Okay, let me share my screen first. Maybe you can start your camera. Maybe you can turn on your camera so we can see your face. Okay, Bapak Yudi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone.
Okay. So this is the order of the presentation. First, we will have Ibu Niken Savitri Anggraini, but she not already joined us yet, so we can skip to Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto, from Airlangga University, and then the second presenter will be Ibu Bernadetta Pravita Wahyuningtyas, and then Bapak Yudi Priyanto, and the last one Ibu Penny Meliati Huta Barat, and then we will continue with the presentation from Ibu Niken Savitri Anggraini. Yeah, all of the presenter has 15 minutes to present the paper, and after that we will have Q&A session in the end of the session for 30 minutes. So maybe we can start from Ibu Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto. Yeah. So you have 15 minutes to present your presentation, and after that we will continue it into Ibu Bernadetta Pravita Wahyuningtyas. And please mute your microphone so we can hear the presenter very clearly, so we can get the message from the presentation. To Ibu Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto, the screen is yours. We cannot hear the sound of the video. Maybe you can share the video. Okay. Maybe you can stop share screen.
I'm not sharing screen.
Oh, okay.
It's my presentation is a pre-recorded one.
Okay. Okay. Co-host, please help the presentation with the video. We cannot hear the voice.
Sorry, maybe you can, when you share screen, you can click the share sound.
Yeah.
So we can in the audio.
Hello
Okay.
everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto and I'm from Surabaya, Indonesia. I'm currently on my final semester on Media and Communication program at Universitas Airlangga. Today, I would like to present to you all my paper on Indonesia's Chinese Muslim identity on Instagram. According to HUE 2018, Chinese Muslim in Indonesia is a double minority compared to the size of Chinese community and Islamic community in Indonesia. It is also described as minority within minority by Maulana 2011 compared to the size of Chinese non-Muslim community, which is also a minority in Indonesia. This research background sets on the existence of Indonesian Chinese Muslim that is up till today still often surrounded by debates on and about their level of Islam and Chineseness as part of their identity. Now, more often than not, the process of a Chinese person converting to Islam as a mu'alaf is often equated with the renunciation of his or her Chineseness. After all, Chinese and Islam community in Indonesia were known to be involved in lots of ethnic religion conflict in the past. This tension is still commonly seen in post-1988 Indonesia. But recently, several Chinese Muslim figures have appeared on social media and have become quite popular among the Indonesia's Islamic community. Their online presence shed light to a more contemporary Chinese Muslim representation in Indonesia. In this light, this paper aims to observe and compare Chinese Muslim identity representation on Instagram that was brought by two popular Chinese Muslim preachers, that is Felix Xiao and Coco Lim, who are very contrast in terms of visual appearance up to their styles of dakwah as seen on their uploads on Instagram. This study observes visual and text elements in Felix Xiao at Felix Xiao and Coco Lim at Ustad_Coco Lim Instagram profile, contents and caption that was uploaded from September 1st until September 25th, 2021. There were 10 Instagram uploads by Felix Xiao and 21 Instagram uploads by at Ustad Coco Lim. These two preachers were chosen because they both have Instagram account and also quite popular with their audience. Now, these are my findings. Firstly, Felix Xiao and Coco Lim displays two different versions of Chinese Muslim identity in a very opposite way of negotiating and conveying their identity as seen on their Instagram posts. Felix Xiao was really keen not to show his Chineseness other from his name, Xiao. On the opposite, Coco Lim's way of showing his Chineseness was rather stereotypical by wearing a set of Chinese traditional men's attire to his every preaching session both online and offline. But his Instagram content is completely Islamic and rarely mention his Chinese origin or even heritage. Secondly, they both have different styles of presenting themselves on Instagram that could be an indication of their different target markets as preachers. After all, being a preacher still counts as a job. So, as far as I can see, Felix Xiao tends to connect more with the younger audience, judging from his Instagram aesthetic and caption. And as for Coco Lim, I think he's still trying to learn to engage with the online environment, because Coco Lim is more familiar with conventional media such as television, because he's quite a star back in early 2000s. I argue that this has to do with their generation gap and level of technological adoption. With 4.8 million followers, Felix was bold enough to engage with a more recent debatable topics, while Coco Lim, with only 23,000 followers, is focusing more on his Safari Dakwah, a trip to pesantren across several cities in Sumatra to give dakwah. Now, if any, they both have one similarity, that is their story of converting or being a mualaf. Now, for both Coco Lim and Felix Shao, this story of how they know and how they learn Islam is becoming a solid base for their appeal to the Islam community in Indonesia. This mualaf status is also become sort of their selling point as a Chinese Muslim preachers in Indonesia. In conclusion, the presence of social media, especially Instagram, provides new space for Chinese Muslim to display their identities, and the existence of these two Chinese Muslim preachers, namely Felix Shao and Coco Lim, has presented two different versions of Chinese Muslim identity, of the heterogeneous spectrums of yet to be explored Chinese Muslim identity in Indonesia. That's all of my presentation. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you guys have a very nice day. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for Jesslyn Giovanni for presenting your pre-recorded video, and thank you for the co-host. Okay, maybe
Hello? Hello, Miss Cecilia?
okay, I'm sorry for the trouble. I have the
Okay.
connection problem. Yeah. Okay, thank you for the Jesslyn Giovanni Mulyanto for the presentation with the pre-recorded video. So another presenter and another participant can write down the question, so we can discuss it later in the question and answer session. And after this, we have the next presenter from Bernadetta Pravita Wahyuningtyas from Bina Nusantara University. Will present the paper about communicating the traditional music legacy, the children's cultural experience of Indonesian and American family. Please do your presentation for 15 minutes, so you will have your PPT presentation, right? Not the
Yes.
pre-recorded video. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, you will have 15
You-
minutes, and I will be your timekeeper. So please apologize if I will interrupt you when the time is up. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cecilia. May I share my?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hello, wonderful people. Greetings from Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm very pleased and honored to meet you here. First of all, on behalf of my group, I would like to appreciate the committee to allow me to present our research result today. My name is Bernadetta Pravita Wahyuningtyas, but you can simply call me Beta. I'm a lecturer and a researcher in communication department and research interest group of cross-cultural communication, or RIG Crosscom, at Bina Nusantara University, Jakarta, Indonesia. At this very moment, I'm presenting you the presentation of our research collaboration between RIG of Crosscom Binus University, Jakarta, Indonesia, and Bankombi County School at North Carolina, USA, which titled Communicating the Traditional Music Legacy, the Javanese Children's Cultural Experience of Indonesian Family, conducted by Bernadetta Pravito Higas, or myself, Triadi Sumbogo, Ulani Yunus, Mario Wiliarto, and Jennifer Jane Anderson. This research based on the phenomenon, data, and observation about the way to communicating the traditional music as family legacy to the future generation during modern era, and how the children experiencing this cultural phenomenon while coping it with it, especially amongst Japanese family in Indonesia. So traditional music legacy help people to understand their country, history, traditions, and the point of view of their family better. Traditional music increasingly unpopular of our generation, whilst actually it lives and remain amongst the society and becoming valuable cultural experience for the people. Thus, cultural experience enhancing and increasing the Japanese children's appreciation of traditional music as the part of family values and taste. Cultural values can influence communication, orientation, and interaction between family members and the awareness of their own culture. Cultural awareness and tradition play important roles in helping Japanese children develop a positive sense of identity. Cultural appreciation and awareness contribute to building a positive interaction amongst family members. This research would like to describe the way cultural values and the legacy of traditional music has been socialized, adopted, and perpetuated through communication in Indonesia, especially on Japanese children and family. Why we study about traditional music legacy on Japanese children? Actually, the phenomenal example is from the late Campur Sari maestro, Lord Didi Kempot. His various music concerts are often crowded with young people who sometimes never know about Didi Kempot's previous career, and it's not even uncommon for millennials to not memorize the songs of the Campur Sari singer. However, Didi is still popular. The impact of its popularity has also led to interesting things, ranging from the title The Lord of Broken Hearted, the emergence of the Sobat Ambyar group to name its fans base, also Sad Boy and Sad Girl, designation for listeners and fans by gender. His popularity take him to the coronation as King of Broken Hearts. But what we want to show about this phenomenon actually is the family, which frequently playing the traditional song makes the children becomes more familiar with the Japanese song and Japanese language. Though Campur Sari is contemporary genre and not purely traditional music, but it surely makes the children aware of their folks and traditional genre. Now they are starting to pay more attention to the traditional song, and they started to browse the song. The basic values of Indonesian culture are the maintenance of social harmony used as moral guidance for social interaction within both the family and the community. Hierarchy ensures that every person in society knows both their place and obligation in the societal structure. In practice, the cultural values result in obedience to superiors, generosity, conflict avoidance, understanding of others, and empathy. These are expressed in communicating the legacy of traditional music. Due to the phenomenon, this study has two questions. How does the legacy of traditional music being perpetuated? And how does the Japanese children experience their cultural legacy, especially on traditional music towards modern era? Family communication patterns theory is a general theory of family communication that focuses on parent-child communication concerned with establishing a shared social reality. It identifies basic process of coming to a shared agreement that impact not only concurrent communication behaviors, but long-term information processing, psychosocial, and behavioral outcomes as well. The principles of social harmony and respect guide Japanese social behavior inside and outside the family and affecting the parenting style in Japanese construction. Parents begin to teach their children very early about the concept of isin, or shyness, wati, or fear, and sungkan, or respectful politeness, to encourage social harmony and respect in the relationship. These three concepts are considered appropriate to situations demanding respectful behavior. The Japanese strive to control their natural impulse in order to maintain social harmony. Therefore, within the family is the only place where the Japanese are relatively free from such tensions. And Japanese relationship amongst family members should be based on unconditional love or tresno. Feeling of isin and sungkan should not be felt amongst members of the family. Rather, family members can express their emotion freely without fearing the loss of family support, especially that of the parents. Listening to traditional music amongst family interaction usually happens in daily basis or sometimes occasionally happen during family gathering. One of the most pervasive and well-studied functions of music listening exhibit its impact on human emotions and well-being. Across cultural context, music engagement has been associated with psychological well-being across the lifespan. The role of parents is central in children's musical lives throughout childhood and communicating the legacy. Yet it serves distinctive functions in different developmental stage during early childhood, literally documents parents and children's spontaneous musical interaction in daily lives as a mean for creating and sustaining bonding and mutuality. As children begin compulsory schooling and become involved in formal music instruction. The constructivist paradigm was carried out to describe the phenomenon on the Japanese children cultural experience and absorbing the traditional music as the legacy amongst their family. The qualitative methods were used to collect data by virtual participants observation and online interviews via Zoom meetings. The sampling that used is purposive sampling. The research would like to describe the way cultural values and the legacy of traditional music has been socialized, adapted, and perpetuated through communication in Indonesia, especially on Japanese children. In this regard, the Japanese children that observed were lived and stayed in and around the capital city of Indonesia. Music constructs our sense of identity through the direct experience it offers of the body, time, sociability, experience, which enable us to place ourselves in imaginable cultural narratives. Music is an expressive language of culture. It often tells a story, expresses emotion, or share ideas with the society. Music reflects the cultural characteristic of a society. The variety of musical forms, styles, repertoire, and traditions that exist mirror the rich diversity in Indonesian culture. Fortunately, until today, this rich indigenous musical tradition live on. They serve as a reminder of Indonesia's long history of musical talent and ingenuity. Music's purpose is to express and to modulate emotion. Music's primary use is mood control, which works very well when language fails. On this study, we found that perpetuation of traditional music and to make the family familiar with it is absolutely bonding with parenting styles. Parenting requires interpersonal skills and makes emotional demands. Most parents learn parenting practice from their own parents. Some they accept and some they discard. When parenting methods are passed on from one generation to the next generation, both desirable and undesirable practice are perpetuated. This practice may be cultural values which have been passed on from one parent to another. Culture, in the other hand, is a way of life of a group of people the behaviors, the symbols, the values, the beliefs that people accept. It's taken for granted. They're not really thinking about them and are passed by mostly communication and imitation from one generation to another. Though there are various parenting styles, there are ways in which the parent brings up a child in order for the child to imbibe the culture, values of the land, and also be a responsible adult. Some of this form of parenting are through storytelling, the extended family, traditional rites, and the care of the family, attention, and love. Some of the informants say that they also learn the traditional music in their school, but it's easier for them if they already taught by their parents or their grandparents in their family before they heard it again in school. Traditional music will survive, and the people of Indonesia will do their best to keep it to the fore. It is as important as the air we breathe and the rain that seems to be continuously falling upon our head. This study found out that during communicating the traditional music, the cultural experience taught the Japanese children more than just values and conventions. It also showed about moral virtues, generosity, hospitality, love, respect, and the soul of the music tradition itself. This study shown that the traditional music uneroded bonding between the children and their parents with their culture despite globalism and modernity. This research also highlights the contribution of parents in children's music learning process. In this study, we present the musical life of Japanese family with school-age child as a qualitative study and document in the full range of their musical experience, spontaneous musical interaction, and music learning activities, in which they are engaged on a daily basis. Through the portrait of a family highly immersed in music, we tend to depict the complex but interconnected emotional world for shows that music is an enriching presence in a family life, a source of emotional closeness that serves to balance tension and frustration and develop relationships of mutual responsiveness. Whether singing together at home, making up songs at dinner time, attending a show, or practicing traditional instrument, music enables family members to spend meaningful time together, attuned and drawn to each other by their shared musicality. Sharing musicality means preserving traditional music, which also means communicating the legacy to the younger generation of Japanese family and society. That's all from me. Thank you for your kind attention upon my presentation. I hope you enjoy it and see ya.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation, Bernadetta Pravita Wahyuningtyas. That's interesting, I think, because the music, traditional music can affect the moral value from the children, yeah, in Jakarta city. Okay, next we will have the presentation. The third presenter is Bapak Yudi Aprianto. Bapak Yudi Aprianto. Okay, we will play your pre-recorded video. The research about leading change through communication, what we learned so far. Okay, please co-host share the pre-recorded video.
Hello, greetings everyone. My name is Yudi Aprianto and I'm a postgraduate student for communication science at Gadjah Mada University. First, I would like to thank the committees who allowed me to present and share my research on leading change through communication, what we learned so far, and this study is basically a literature review within the last 10 years, focusing on leadership communication and organizational change. Well, then I would like to begin with a background. This topic was driven by the condition that is happening today, as the internal factors such as efficiency, and also for the external ones such as globalizations, and especially for almost 2 years the pandemic made organizations to do changes in order to survive this this pandemic situation, and the organization also do changes in order to survive in this competitive environment. However, the change itself does not run smoothly, even experiencing a more significant failure than success, because changes generally have resistance due to the high uncertainty that occurs from these changes. For this reason, several experts stated that the role of leadership is crucial in driving change. Even leaders can accelerate transformation by playing as an active role as an intermediary for change with their members and organization. However, how leaders communicate change as a regular dialogue instead of instructing their members is still the query emerging in leadership and organizational change communication. Therefore, this study is trying to address what has been discovered so far from the recent studies of leadership, particularly leaders' communication in the organizational change. In gathering the data, I used the Publish or Paris research search engine focusing on Scopus Index and Crossref database with keywords around leadership communication and organizational change with a time period from 2010 until July 2021, and it was conducted to gain recent studies. Additionally, I used the articles and conference papers to present empirical evidence for this topic. A total of 59 articles were gathered, and we can see that the topic was rarely covered in communication journals with only 4 papers. Meanwhile, articles were coming from area of study of research dominantly and change management, and information technology respectively. And in addition, we could see a growing trend for study area of leadership communication in various organization settings such as environmental and also health studies. And for this research, the dominant themes from the articles are focusing on change message, communication channel, leadership style, agent of change, effective leaders competency, and also change outcome as an organizational culture. And this would be the outline for the presentation. Vision or messages of change are vital as they serve as the basis for the change itself through inspiring ideas that can encourage others participants, and with the inclusive language, building an identity with recognition and differentiation, and it also ensuring that the information really circulate around the organization instead of the rumors. And this finding also show that the role of leaders could be seen to be significant in their communication through the production and reception of messages about the change through the inclusive meanings and language. And in addition, communication and leadership can be seen as tools in transition and as part of also as a part for the change itself. The next one is about communication channel, and study shows that the channels for delivering change should be interactive, face-to-face, related to context, and also consider the formality, which is study shows that informal and casual communication in discussing changes make people feel more comfortable executing the differences. And these results also resonates with Myers et al., who suggest using face-to-face communication is preferable in communicating the complex changes within the organization. So the high media richness is preferred to be effective in communicating changes, especially in the complex issues about the change process. The next theme is about leadership styles in organizational change, and this is the most notable topics in the literature review because it covers a wide range of leadership styles from transactionals, which focusing on task accomplishment, to the common for transformative leadership. However, we could see that the leadership style hasn't provided consistency on how to communicate effectively during the change, and even worse, the leaders are seen as destructive. The results also show a contradiction in the effectiveness leadership in implementing the change, as we could see in transactional and transformative. Thus, some experts suggest the need for a combination for various leadership styles in the change context. For this reason, communication would provide a way to explore without limiting certain leaderships in demonstrating the communication of the leaders in this change context. In addition to leadership style, the focus in leadership communication also emphasizes on the structure, differentiation of leaders and their role in change. Most studies show that the hierarchical distance and communication changes from top management are significant predictors for their employee commitment in both effective and normative ways. But some studies also have emphasized on the function of middle manager, and they really could demonstrate responsibility and communicate, also reinforce a shared vision for the change process, and also resolve conflicts between management functions. And they really act as a change agent, and because more employees seek for the change information from their managers, and they feel more confident in the information which draw from the middle manager, and it shows that they hold a role in conceptualizing and operationalizing the new identity of a change. Therefore, the studies suggest that top management has to build relationship with their managers and staff below them and take advantage for their effectiveness of the middle managers in implementing the change. The ability of leaders is also one of the major themes in the leadership communication literature in the context of change, especially in having the competency in dialogue, building and having commitment, and being a role model, as well as having a physical and emotional presence, and the creativity in creating and encouraging change messages. The last theme of the study is about the change outcome, which really have a close relation with organizational culture, because culture also could be seen as the goal for the change process, and therefore implementing change means implementing the organizational culture. And to do this, studies show that the leaders must be responsive and able to provide dialogue, and also have to be reflexive in showing their behavior and communication according to the corporate culture that they want to create. And the culture also need to be supportive with the where the leaders provide their members with resources, especially in the time of change, because they really need time in to do changes. And the last one is we could see that institutionalized change in the agency and work culture is really is really seen as the common outcome for the change process. In conclusion, we could see that leadership in the organizational change is complex. Carrying out organizational change can be understood as a process of using various resources and competencies by involving all members through meaningful leadership communication. Next, since the leadership styles give inconsistent result in explaining the leadership effectiveness, it is necessary and could be more effective if we focusing on the communication, especially the on how creating the urgency in change, understanding what leaders see and understand in the changing environment, so we could have better understanding in leadership communication. Through leadership communication, people can identify challenges and opportunities from internal and external environments, elaborate on that information, and involve others in constructing a meaningful change vision. The majority of these studies are still focusing on top management, although some are focusing on middle management. However, in a large organization, for example, understanding the whole management level would be able to explain the leader's effectiveness as in entire change process. So exploring leadership at all levels and staff would give a comprehensive understanding on how people taking part in the organizational change. This study has some limitation because first it's only use English terms in searching the articles, and we only use predefined search terms, and it might left some potential articles while searching. And for future study, we could also use another search terms like resistance in leadership context, and empirically testing these findings so we could have a better understanding in highlighting these issues. And these studies also suggest to look at related issues such as virtuality in leadership, because it's really common in nowadays leadership communication. Thank you for your kind attention, and I hope that this will help you in practical or professional life and also encourage you to do research in this study. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Bapak Yudi, for the pre-recorded video. I think that's interesting because in organization nowadays, I agree, because in this pandemic era and digital era, we need more and more research about communication and leadership in organization context, right? So this research such an insightful research review. So maybe we can discuss it later in the Q&A box. So maybe all of the presenter or the participant can write down the question to Mr. Yudi, to Jesslyn, and to Miss Bernadetta. Maybe you have questions to be answered in the Q&A session. And we will continue. Thank you, Mr. Yudi. So we will continue our presentation. Sorry. Okay, we will continue the presentation from Okay. From the last, okay, the last. Ibu Penny Meliati Huta Barat, yeah, with the
Hello.
pre-recorded video. Hello. Okay. The paper is about personal digital branding and utilization of social media to build career opportunities and e-professionalism in this digital era. A qualitative study on final year college students and fresh graduates. So the co-host, please play the pre-recorded video.
Thank you, Mbak Cecilia.
Yeah.
Greeting to all audience. In this opportunity, I'd like to convey to you the ongoing research with the topic personal digital branding and utilization of social media to build career opportunities and e-professionalism in digital era. The research is written by myself, Penny Huta Barat, and the team member Erni Adelina, Melissa Bunga Altamira, and Fitra Nuriski. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic we've been experiencing to date has impacted the outlook of the future workforce. Companies constantly put efforts into digitalization and adapt to different kind of changes. The employment world is more and more competitive these days. To add on, the pandemic condition will increase the needs of skillful employees who also are adaptable in the rapidly changing technology. The condition surely pushes companies to harness digital platforms for hirings and recruiting new employees. On the other hand, job seekers, primarily final year students and fresh graduates, are highly encouraged to have skills. They are expected to possess skills to present their outstanding potentials and competencies within them. Therefore, it is a growing importance to an individual job seekers to build his or her personal digital brand. Personal digital brand is a strategic self-marketing that is built through platform of social media and aim to present individual professional competencies. According to Dalla Kamina 2016 in her conducted research, she explained that individuals who own a strong personal brand can be recognized as they have shared their passion, what they have been working on, in relevant ways of sharing and to the public they serve. On the company side, most employers will review online platform and social media to identify their candidates' profile or personal brands. So in this regard, personal branding on social media is getting more crucial as employers benefit from the social media during the recruitment process to extract relevant information about candidates or look at negative contents which appear on them. And social media is a room for a personal brand actualization, or we can say that social media has become a personal brand actualization space. Since almost all people are present in the online platform, it is also a space for employers to go review to their employee candidates. The object of the research are students in their final year of study and fresh graduates in Universitas Indonesia vocational education program, especially the multimedia broadcasting program. The selection of the research object was based on the increase of industrial needs for a set of skills owned by communication graduates, especially skills in multimedia broadcasting. A number of job descriptions that relates to multimedia broadcasting are highly demanded and sought. So regarding the facts, authors are compelled to further look into respondents' awareness, their knowledge and attitude about the significance of personal branding and social media to their career potential. The focus of the research is to investigate how final year students and fresh graduates perceive personal branding and how their attitudes in utilizing social media as a tool to build and maintain their personal digital brand. We, the authors, also found out the gap in academic world and higher education institution where preparation and training in relation to personal branding and professionalism are rarely conducted as career provisions to the graduates. Therefore, the authors also target to acknowledge the final year students and fresh graduates' perception about the significance of preparation and training that are linked to personal branding on social media. This research aims to explain significance of personal digital branding as an asset to improve career opportunities and e-professionalism, and also to comprehend how final year students and fresh graduates' awareness, knowledge, and attitude about personal digital brand, the use of social media as tools to build and maintain the personal brand, and we want to know the significance of trainings by higher education institution in personal branding related topics, social media in professionalism as a career profession or preparation. The chosen method is the qualitative methodology, and data collection technique was performed by conducting online interviews and literature studies. Respondents were decided using purposive sampling. Previous studies by Edmiston 2014, Hood et al. 2014, and Johnson 2017 have showed that students and graduates undergo personal branding using social media to prepare themselves as they are in a transition stage from college to career life. And Clappinger 2015 emphasized that for young professionals, fresh graduates, and job seekers, the option is not only whether to use digital communication platform or not, but how they need to proactively maintain their public image through the use of social media. The effort to understand social media is not only as a liability, but as a professional asset in this digital era. And then about results, finding, and limitations. The authors are now in a phase of collecting data through conducting virtual interviews. And the literature reviews were purely outlined, becoming principal foundations for the writers to look deeper into the topic and address the research question. Self-presentation theory will also be adapted to help in understanding on use of social media by final year students and fresh graduates. Finding from this research will explain about how final year student and fresh graduates awareness, knowledge, as well as attitude toward personal digital branding through social media. Furthermore, the research is expected to discover the significance of e-professionalism preparation and training for graduates' career potential. This reverts back to a lack of personal brand education and social media in higher education institutions. Since final year students and fresh graduates also require to obtain education in building their online professional personas, even more to encourage graduates to possess critical sensibility on how to engage in social media as a professional. Besides the contribution catered by this research, it should have limitations. One of them is the scope of the research. It is narrowed down to one institution, and the result of the research might not be generalized to other contexts or should be applied with caution. And future research should extend and use different contexts. Okay, that was the end of my presentation. We hope the research can be useful for academic and practical purposes in the future to come. And thank you for your time and kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation from the pre-recorded video, Bu Penny Huta Barat. I get the point that the personal branding in this digital era is an asset for
Yes.
the younger generation. That's a unique quote from the researchers in here. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Mbak
we will
Cynthia.
have, and we will have the last pre-recorded video from Ibu Niken, but unfortunately the presenter couldn't attend the forum in here, but we will still play the pre-recorded video. So please, the co-host, please help to play the video from Ibu Niken. The presentation is about a restaurant representation in digital application from Bandung Institute of Technology researcher, Ibu Niken Savitri Anggraini and Bapak Prabu Wardono. Please, co-host, play the video.
Selamat pagi, selamat siang, selamat sore, kapanpun video ini akan diputar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam sehat dan sejahtera bagi kita semua. Saya akan mempresentasikan paper saya yang berjudul Restaurant Representation in Digital Application. Jadi ini baru sebuah studi awal dari penelitian selanjutnya. Latar belakang yang melatar belakangi pemilihan dari topik tersebut adalah karena saya melihat adanya teknologi digital yang semakin maju dan ini telah mengubah gaya hidup masyarakat menjadi lebih sedentar karena berbagai macam kemudahan yang ditawarkannya. Munculnya aplikasi digital seperti GoFood atau GrabFood telah mengubah ketergantungan masyarakat terhadap belanja makanan. Jadi mereka ingin suatu hal yang lebih efisien dan praktis. Hal ini mendorong munculnya jenis restoran baru yang dinamakan virtual restoran atau ghost restoran. Ghost restoran sendiri secara definisi adalah restoran yang tidak memiliki tempat sendiri. Jadi umumnya mereka hanya memanfaatkan teknologi digital dan fasilitas digital, kemudian diantarkan pesanan dari konsumen itu melalui kurir, seperti itu. Bagaimana aplikasi digital dapat merepresentasikan kehadiran restoran? Nah, di sini kita melihat dulu adanya beberapa hal yang terkait dengan gaya hidup masyarakat urban, terutama di Jakarta, di mana kita melihat masyarakat perkotaan di Jakarta itu terbuka terhadap percepatan teknologi, mempunyai mobilitas tinggi, senang diakui eksistensinya, dinamis, terbuka terhadap perubahan. Dan hal ini menyebabkan atau mempengaruhi kebiasaan mereka dan perilaku mereka dalam kegiatan makan di luar rumah atau eating out. Ada beberapa hal yang mempengaruhi ketergantungan masyarakat perkotaan di Jakarta ya terhadap platform digital seperti Gojek atau Grab. Jadi ada aspek rasa malas untuk keluar ya, kemudian mereka sibuk, kemudian mereka ingin suatu hal yang praktis dan efisien, kemudian melihat kondisi jalanan yang macet sehingga mereka berpikir untuk memanfaatkan platform pemesanan makanan agar waktu dan tenaga mereka tidak banyak terbuang. Beberapa motivasi makan di luar rumah masyarakat urban ini juga sejalan dengan penelitian yang sudah dilakukan oleh Alan Warde dan Lydia Martin tahun 2000 dalam penelitiannya bertajuk Eating Out, di mana makan di luar rumah itu terkait dengan kebutuhan, kesenangan, dan hiburan. Aktivitas dan fasilitas dalam aplikasi digital ini sebenarnya dapat diimplementasikan juga dalam sebuah restoran, di mana dalam aplikasi digital itu kita juga terdapat aktivitas seperti memesan, kemudian membayar ya. Tentunya ini adalah sebuah reduksi dari kondisi restoran yang sebenarnya. Dalam restoran itu aktivitas yang umumnya ditemui adalah memesan makanan, kemudian makan atau minum, bersosialisasi, berkumpul, kemudian membayar. Nah, untuk kegiatan ini kemudian difasilitasi oleh area-area atau ruang-ruang seperti entrance, di mana konsumen itu masuk ke dalam ruang restoran, kemudian dining area sebagai tempat makan, kemudian area kasir untuk membayar, dan service area ini untuk tempat untuk mengolah makanan atau menyiapkan makanan, dan juga untuk tempat untuk penyimpanan seperti gudang. Berikut ini adalah definisi dari ghost restaurant atau virtual restaurant. Jadi ghost restaurant adalah restoran yang tidak memiliki area makan, namun hanya memiliki dapur untuk mengolah makanan dan area untuk mengambil pesanan. Selanjutnya makanan diantar melalui jasa kurir kepada konsumen. Seringkali ghost restoran ini tidak memiliki bangunan restoran khusus, melainkan hanya memanfaatkan dapur rumah. Dan aktivitas di dalamnya menjadi sangat sederhana, di mana konsumen itu hanya perlu memesan lewat aplikasi digital, kemudian makanan itu diproses di restorannya dan kemudian diantarkan melalui kurir. Berikut ini adalah representasi ruang digital. Jadi arti dari representasi sendiri adalah merupakan pelukisan kembali realitas yang tidak dapat dihadirkan, sehingga diperlukan model realitas yang lain lewat berbagai model, misalkan visual, gambar, atau citra. Dalam restoran virtual, representasi ruang hadir melalui website, aplikasi pemesanan makanan, serta sosial media yang melingkupi keberadaan dari restoran tersebut. Konsumen dapat merasakan keberadaan dari sebuah restoran virtual karena memiliki hubungan berupa aplikasi digital yang terkoneksi melalui gawainya. Nah, jadi pada kesempatan ini saya hanya membahas tentang aplikasi digitalnya saja. Nah, representasi restoran dalam aplikasi digital ini bisa dilihat dari tingkat kualitas aplikasi digital tersebut, dari kualitas informasinya, kualitas pelayanannya, penggunaannya, user satisfaction, dan benefit yang dirasakan oleh konsumen tersebut. Untuk studi kasus, saya mengambil Hungry Restaurant. Jadi Hungry Restaurant ini adalah restoran virtual yang tadinya adalah restoran yang berbasis dari pemesanan makanan secara online. Dan Hungry ini membawahi berbagai macam brand yang ada di dalamnya, seperti itu, dengan berbagai macam menu yang beragam. Saat ini Hungry telah memiliki 49 outlet yang tersebar di area Jakarta. Kualitas informasi yang ditampilkan pada aplikasi Hungry ini cukup baik dan informatif dengan tersedianya brand-brand sister company mereka yang menjadi bagian dari Hungry Restaurant. Menu seperti home, pilihan menu, poin, rewards, dan pesanan juga tersedia sehingga memudahkan konsumen untuk mengakses. Pada aplikasi ini juga diminta untuk mendaftar sebagai member dan dapat mengakses alamat yang dituju. Kualitas pelayanan restoran ini baik karena bekerja sama dengan beberapa platform pesan antar makanan disertai sistem pembayaran melalui uang digital. Penggunaan aplikasi ini tidak menyulitkan. User interface dan user experience yang digunakan cukup user friendly karena dari pengembangnya sendiri sudah melakukan beberapa inovasi perbaikan. Jadi tidak menyulitkan konsumen ketika sedang memilih menu, memesan, serta membayar. Secara komposisi tampilan konten pada aplikasi ini juga sangat menarik, dari warna yang digunakan, foto yang ditampilkan, serta konten yang tidak mengganggu secara visual dan juga informatif. Benefit yang dihasilkan dengan adanya aplikasi ini adalah konsumen memahami adanya brand restoran yang berbasis online karena selain memiliki aplikasi sendiri, restoran ini juga bekerja sama dengan platform lain sehingga meningkatkan sisi finansial restoran. Kami juga mengadakan forum group discussion dalam format yang kecil, jadi untuk mengetahui persepsi mereka tentang aplikasi Hungry. Jadi menurut mereka kualitas informasi mereka menjawab baik karena mereka menjadi mengerti brand restoran yang tergabung di dalamnya dan menu yang ditawarkan oleh masing-masing restoran. Kualitas pelayanannya mereka merasa puas karena mereka semua pernah membeli produk Hungry menggunakan aplikasi Hungry dan merasa puas dengan pelayanannya karena selain lewat aplikasi tersebut mereka juga dapat memesan melalui aplikasi Gojek dan Grab yang otomatis memberikan pelayanan yang lebih mudah dan lebih cepat. Dari sisi penggunaan, saat ini penggunaan aplikasinya jauh lebih mudah, friendly user karena ada pengembangan dalam sistem aplikasinya. Dari segi desain aplikasi yang ditampilkan sederhana namun menarik dan informatif sehingga tidak mengganggu secara visual. Kemudian dari kepuasan pengguna, kepuasan konsumen yang menggunakan aplikasi ini cukup baik karena memudahkan mereka dalam memilih, memesan, dan membayar secara digital. Selain itu, produk yang ditawarkan harganya terjangkau. Manfaat bagi pengguna, konsumen merasa terbantu dengan adanya aplikasi tersebut karena dapat mengenal brand restoran terutama bagi konsumen baru yang baru mengenal produk mengenal brand restoran tersebut. Experience yang didapatkan walaupun berbeda dengan makan di tempat, namun kehadiran restoran dapat dirasakan melalui produk sehingga memberikan kepuasan lain, terutama produk yang sesuai dengan gambar atau ekspektasi konsumen. Kesimpulannya, kemajuan teknologi digital telah memungkinkan restoran hadir melalui representasinya dalam aplikasi yang dapat diakses kapan saja. Kemudian, representasi restoran melalui aplikasi digital ini telah mempengaruhi gaya hidup dan pola belanja masyarakat urban menjadi lebih praktis. Melalui aplikasi digital ini, konsumen juga dapat merasakan proses kegiatan yang mereka alami seperti ketika mereka makan di restoran walaupun experience yang dialaminya berbeda. Namun dengan kualitas aplikasi yang baik ternyata dapat memberikan kepuasan kepada konsumen didukung oleh pelayanan dari restoran itu sendiri. Jadi experience itu tidak hanya diperoleh melalui makan di tempat saja, tapi juga dapat melalui aplikasi digital. Mungkin sekian presentasi dari saya. Terima kasih atas kesempatan yang diberikan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you for the co-host for playing the video from Ibu Niken and Bapak Prabu Wardono. So all the presenter already presented all the papers. I know it's difficult to present in 15 minutes only, but really thank you for the punctuation. And we will have the question and answer session. So maybe the presenter or maybe the other participants has questions to the presenter. We will have 30 minutes, but maybe we can discuss it the longer duration.
Okay.
Please.
Can I ask one question to
Yes.
I think to Miss Bernadette and team?
Okay, Miss
Yeah.
Bernadette. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Interesting your about your study because it's resonates the family communication theory from Kroner and Fitzpatrick. There's like a 4-dimension in family communication, which ranging from the laissez-faire, protective, consensual, and pluralistic dominance of communication family. Do you think that the music contribute to how the family communicate their issues or their daily activities with this music? How far that it could maybe affect their communication through this music? Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Yudi, for the question. Mbak Cecil, can I answer the question directly?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, Mas Yudi, actually, we are not measuring how far or how big it's affected the communication or the interaction in the family, but we asked them and observed them about how the music actually makes their bonding is tighter, or how it makes them and not negotiate, but can make them have a shorter time to resolve their problems between each other, because the music helped them to release the tension. The music helped them to build the good mood. So they are familiar with listening to the music every time. So when it comes to the bigger problem of their family or in their daily basis, the first thing that they will do is listening to the music first, or they singing one song that becomes their family, like family original soundtrack.
Anthem.
to make them becomes more lovely to each other, so they can memorize the lovely things, the nice things when that soundtrack is playing behind them. So we didn't measuring how much it's affected, or how big it's affected, or how big the impact of the music, but we observe about how the music make them resolve the conflict between them. I hope I make myself clear and clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yudi and Ms. Bernadetta. Maybe I want to continue the discussion about the topic, yeah, Bu Bernadetta, because I want to ask also about what if the information, or the information live in Jakarta, right? So
Yeah.
Does the informant's location in Jakarta affect their understanding of the traditional music or not? Or will it be different if the informant live in another area before the research? With the new one living in Jakarta, will be it different if the informant live in another area before?
We have the preliminary research before, Mbak Cecil. Thank you for the interesting question here. So actually, we are not comparing. We just want to know about the condition for the family. So it's not about where they live. It's not about the area. It's not about they live in Jakarta or they live in Bandung, or if they live in Solo or in Jogja, it means they will be familiar furthermore with the traditional music better than other children that live in another city. But the condition is not like that. We are surprised that it's not because the area, but it's how the family like injected the traditional music to them in their daily basis. So why I'm giving the example of the phenomenon of the Didi Kempot, actually campur sari is not the traditional genre. Campur sari is more contemporary music. But nowadays, like people becomes more aware to the Javanese language, become more aware that campur sari actually is a part of the traditional music. So it's not about the area, like I said before, but it's how the parents and their grandparents socialize the traditional music on their daily basis. Like when Cecil said to me before that the traditional music could affect the moral of the children. I have two traditional music for the children. The first one is Was Mangkono, and the second one is Sisutejo. I don't know whether if you are the Japanese children, but even you are not familiar with this song, but Was Mangkono is teaching us about to curb our animal instinct in the context of the lust for the material world. So since the very first beginning of our childhood, we are socializing about how to curb our animal instinct for our lust in the material world. And the Sisutejo actually teach us about how to move on and how to be patient and become more sincere, for we cannot reach anything that already missed from our life or from our hands. So I never know before that it could affected their construction or their thinking construction, but the children told me that several traditional songs makes them understand the meaning of life since very first beginning of their childhood.
Oh, that's interesting because I'm a Japanese and I never heard that Mangkono and
Okay.
Tisu Tejo, right? I
Yeah.
never heard that before.
So
That's interesting.
therefore I say that this is the communicating the legacy of traditional music, because the family has their own legacy of traditional music. We are maybe have the same cultural background, but the legacy of the family about our traditional music will be different.
Okay, maybe it will be interesting if the next episode will be conducted in Yogyakarta, maybe because we don't have like me, I don't have any knowledge about that kind of song, the traditional song, even in Yogyakarta, because if I'm not mistaken, that song originated in Yogyakarta or Jawa Tengah, I don't know.
It's actually this song is familiar to the children of Solo and Jogja.
Oh, okay, right. Thank you very much, Bernadetta and Bapak Yudi. Okay, is there any other question to the presenters? Please, maybe you can raise your hand or just open your microphone.
I would like to ask question.
Yes, please. Who is this? I'm sorry.
To Miss
Oh,
Bernadette
Jesslyn. Okay.
again. Yeah, I'm Jesslyn, and I would like to ask question to Miss Bernadette again. I was intrigued to, following up Mrs. Celia question. I was actually wondering what kind of traditional music that was used in this research, because at first you said that you're using the Didi Kempot phenomenon to describe campur sari and what you describe as traditional music. But actually, what kind of traditional music that you were researching? I mean, if it's traditional, where it's coming from, and what kind of, I mean, what it says, what that music says, and I mean, traditional songs or music originated from Jogja or Solo, like what you explained earlier, is maybe different. And if you're, I'm imagining if you're researching people from Jakarta, they must have a very different, or I don't know, not related cultural background with Japanese traditional music, because I think Jakarta is more populated with Betawi. I don't know, and I don't know the usual anecdote that that exists in Jakarta, that Jakartan don't consider themselves as Javanese. They consider themselves as Jakarta. I mean, if Jakartan move to Surabaya, then they will say, yeah, I'm going to Jawa now, not moving to Surabaya or that kind of stuff. Now, can you explain that? Thank you very much.
Okay, I will answer from the very last questions. Yeah, Ms. Jocelyn. The first thing first, we do the research in Jakarta with the Javanese family. The Javanese family that live in Jakarta and still doing all the things and all the rituals in the Javanese ritual, even they live in Jakarta. And the people who come from another city, Jakarta is a melting pot. But then the parents or the grandparents will make you always consider or always aware that you are not really Jakartans, that you are still have the Japanese blood in your life, in your body. So they will consciously teach the children or their grandchildren about the traditional thingy. I will consider it as our informality, or I will consider it as our weakness as well, because we are doing the observation and the interview in the highest level of Japanese family that live in Jakarta. So in that context, the traditional thingy and the ritual of Japanese tradition would be perseverance tightly, or perseverance in the maximum thing that they can do, because they come from the high level of Japanese family. The tradition that they still persevering and they show to the people, it also shown to the people that they come from the high level of Japanese family. We are not just a common Japanese family. We are come from the higher level, because we are still doing the rituals and we are still doing the traditional thingy. That's become important because the family that I've observed are coming from the higher level of the Japanese family. That's my answer. And about the traditional song, maybe I make like a blunder, and I'm so sorry about that, but I have no other example to shows about how the euphoria of traditional music that's still going on until now, beside the Didi Kempot and Sobat Ambyar. I don't have any other example to show the euphoria, so I use that example to make this research more describable, and it's not only on our cognitive, but we can see the phenomenon of the traditional music, which I also say that actually Campur Sari is not the traditional genre, it's a contemporary. So it's a mix from traditional pop and then dangdut. But because dangdut is the part of Indonesia, so dangdut is the music of our country, Campur Sari still categorized as the traditional song as well. So actually the song, if like Bos Mangkono and Si Sutejo, and then if you are more familiar with Jamuran, it's like it's a game song. It's the same thing as Bos Mangkono and Si Sutejo. I'm sorry, I cannot show you the video that one of my informants singing was Mangkono, so you can have a clearer dimension about what kind of traditional music that I'm talking about. I'm sorry about that, but the traditional song is, if you want to know or to make it clearer, you always hear the gamelan for the back sound of the song. I hope I make myself clean and clear about that explanation.
Yeah, that's very clear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bernadette and Jesslyn. I think that's enough for the discussion for the Bernadette paper, right? So we can move to another presenters. Is there any question to another presenters? Okay, maybe I will ask Mr. Yudi about the paper. I want to know, Mr. Yudi, can you hear my voice
Yes.
clearly? Okay, yeah. It's the
Yes.
pandemic situation where the organizations communicate a lot virtually right now. Yeah, many organizations are disrupted, right? Will this affect the organization's leadership style, and how this research see the phenomenon of the digital dynamics in organization and how the leadership style will be conducted in this situation.
Okay. Yeah, we could see that, the virtuality is become, important parts of the organization. And, even though that the virtual organization concept has been, established for such a long time, but in practical, because the pandemic is like, crossing without any without any previous experience. So some of the organization suffer, especially for leaders uh, to conduct their leadership or coordinate with their teams effectively, because um, they they couldn't consider the time time what is it time differences, and also the space the differences, because that two factors really fluid in the or, practical in our organizational, because they don't really understand how to effectively using their communication technology, how far that we can do the how we could really focusing on the task, and how we could really cool down with this I don't know in English, but in Indonesia we could see like jenuh, jenuh with these virtual things. They really have to mix it up, and turn down their utility, or the what is it their they have to to some extent really find the pattern between the task and the relations. And the studies also say that even though virtual is really hold the important, face-to-face communication is still hold the important, especially when it comes to big changes, like merger or something. We still need a face-to-face communication. And based on that leaders now has to really become fluid, using not only the aiming for the task, but also to build relations. And one of studies also suggests the leaders to like having this, like the we call it like the cooler water cooler conversation, like having a coffee in the real physical, but we do that in this virtual room, so we could really have a bonding, catching up with our colleagues without talking about the work itself, because we need to really cool down a little bit about the task during this pandemic, and having that kind of conversation also.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's interesting because the leader in the organization, they have to organize the team so they can attain, so they can achieve the target, right? But in this digital era, in this pandemic situation, we work at home, like work from home, like every day. So the leader will be difficult to lead the team, so they can attain, so they can achieve their mutual target, right? Because the main purpose of the organization is to achieve their goals, right? So maybe it will be new research maybe in the future to how leader can organize the team so to attain their goals in when they work in their personal space in home, at home, maybe they work from home like every day, they never met each other, so maybe it will be a different dynamics in organization, I think.
Yes, they should build their own rules in doing their job, you know, because each person they have a unique situations, you know, at their own space, because you know, some of us maybe have a child, and one of us may be single, so they should build, you know, like rules and how they could really put also their empathy or their considerance in during this situation.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you, Mr. Yudi, for the answer. Maybe another presenter or another participant want to ask any question about the paper from Mr. Yudi? Okay, there is no discussion, so maybe another discussion for another presenter, maybe.
Maybe I would like to ask for I think about the personal branding.
Okay, personal
co-
branding. So
like, yeah,
Penny, right?
yes. I would like to know what is the aims for the students to in building their personal branding. Is it for like a self-employee, as a self-employer, or they building their brand, their professionalism for to make the employer, you know, become notice or see them as you know, having a plus point in their professional life, and also how far that the employer really see the personal branding for their candidates. You know, is it really like a really strong checklist for their recruitment, or it's just part of the you know, like personality or something? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yudi, for the question. Yeah, about the personal digital branding, the point is we have to encourage the fresh graduate or a final year student to aware and understand the personal digital branding, because it's not only it can help them to build the career opportunities, but also it helps them to positioning their competencies, so they know what their potential. And then for the employer, usually in this digital era, they go to review not only through the curriculum vitae like that or LinkedIn, but also they review the maybe the negative content for the candidates from the social media. So one of the goals of this research also, we want to know, is it the students, especially in final year student or the fresh graduate, aware and understand that every content, they share in social media, it's it will impact their digital reputation in the long term. And also me and Miss Melissa, my research partner, and also attend this room, involved in organizing our students to go internship in several industries. So we see that the employer really use the digital technology, use apa, especially social media to review and then know more about the candidates. And from the literature that we explore, there is very limited research until now that concern about personal digital branding, especially the significance of training or an education of personal branding in higher education. That's why we realize that this is an important thing. So in the future, the content that they create several years ago maybe impact to their career or to their potential competency, maybe like that. Thank you, Miss Judy. I hope that can answer the question.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Penny. Maybe I want to follow the question from Mr. Yudi about the research. Does this research also read about the relationship between digital literacy in Indonesia, where internet penetration is high, but is this a manifestation of the low ability of the younger generation to utilize digital media more optimally?
Yeah, thank you, Miss
Okay.
Cecilia. This research, the scope is the object are our students in multimedia broadcasting program in vocational University of Indonesia. So maybe in the future we can incorporate the point that you share, that we need to incorporate the digital literacy in this research in the future. But for now, we want to explore for the scope in our students in University of Indonesia, especially in multimedia broadcasting program.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
answer, Ms. Penny and Ms. Melissa Bunga Altamira and Mr. Yudi for the question. Thank you. Yeah. Is there any other questions to the other presenters? Maybe I want to ask Miss Jesslyn about the research. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. I want to ask, does the Chinese Muslim identity represented by these two figures affect the netizens' response as an audience? Does the study also find audience or netizen perceptions about the Chinese Muslim groups in Indonesia? Or does the research only how these two figures try to represent themselves as a Chinese Muslim, or do you see any insight about the response of the netizen as the audience from these two figures of Chinese Muslims? What is that? Influencer in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cecilia, for the answer, for the question. I'm too nervous. This is my first conference.
It's okay, it's very good. Thank you for doing your best.
Yeah, for that question, no, I didn't research much on the audience perception on how these two Chinese Muslim preachers represent themselves as Chinese Muslim preachers in social media. But I started this research with a very, I think, unique cultural phenomenon, cultural background in Indonesia, where Chinese Muslim is still seen as a unique identity. I mean, I said that in my paper, where these two preachers use their mualaf status and their Chineseness to somehow negotiating their identity as a preachers and also as Chinese Muslim. They both have Islamic knowledge, because Felix Chao is, very famous in Indonesia. He also involved in many HTI movement in the past, and he's now quite a big influencer in Indonesia. He has 4.8 million followers on Instagram, and he has also a YouTube channel and Twitter. I don't know. He has many followers in Indonesia. But for Coco Lim, he's only, I think he's a newbie in the social media realm, and still not showing much his side of Chinese Muslim, apart from his Chinese attires and his way of teaching dakwah in outside Java. So he's not so popular in Java, but he's quite popular in his hometown, Riau, Dumai, Riau. And for the reception for the audience, I think aside, I argue that Chinese Muslim pictures is just one example of a very big spectrum of Chinese Muslim identity with that is very heterogeneous in Indonesia. And I have in mind that some Chinese Muslim public figures in Indonesia, like artists, like the recent one, I think her name is Larissa Cho, who is the divorcee from Alvin Faiz, if I'm not wrong. She is also Mualaf, and I think she's got quite famous because she is Chinese, turned to Mualaf, and marrying a Ustad's son in Indonesia, which is quite a big deal for a Chinese to convert to a Muslim. And plus, she's marrying a Ustad's son, quite a famous Ustad. So, yeah, to conclude, I think Chinese Muslim identity in Indonesia is still seen as a phenomenon, but gradually, I hope, and yeah, I think it will become more a normal identity, not seen again as a unique identity, because every identity should be, I don't know, seen as a normal identity, not a unique one, especially if that unique identity translate into some, I don't know, negative sort of identity. Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, maybe the point is that all of the identities we can normalize, right? The Chinese Muslim in Indonesia, because there is no such thing like stereotyping, like the negative identity, right? In Chinese Muslim in Indonesia, so maybe the negative image as such, like these nowadays we know about the unique identity that we can just normalize the Chinese Muslim in Indonesia, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Okay, thank you very much, Jaslyn, for the explanation. Is there any question you want to discuss in this forum or any other presenters? If there is no more question, so maybe we can end. Oh, sorry, Jaslyn.
I think I would like to ask Miss Fanny again.
Okay.
About
yes, please.
Branding, personal branding on social media.
Okay.
I am also a fresh graduate, and I've seen this phenomenon. I think I experienced this myself. Many of my friends were making LinkedIn account and trying to look more professional before they graduate, and yeah, even after they graduate, they try to look more professional and stuff. But I personally, I still consider whether we should or we should not like do this all personal branding on social media, because I think somehow I use social media, but I don't use it specifically to brand myself as a professional. And I think, and my question is, should we all fresh graduate to uh, present ourselves professionally on social media? Because sometimes I think branding and skills that we really have, somehow it's not match up, like in my several about friends I know, they would say that they are expert, or they are frequently use some Adobe, I don't know, application, stuff like that. But in real life, they're not that expert while using their Adobe or Excel or whatever. So yeah, my question is, should we or should we not do personal branding on social media, and how to really make sure that what you present yourself from your personal branding is really match up to your skills, real skills, real working skills needed for your personal professional life. I think that's my question.
Okay. Do we have to do the personal branding in digital platform? Yeah, Jaslyn. If the
Yeah.
skill is not representable in social media, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Okay.
Miss Lainey can answer.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Jesslyn and Miss Cecilia. Yeah, I try to answer the question. The important thing is we need to start to build our authentic personal digital brand. It is true that sometimes what we present in social media not fit or relate. I mean, not overall is fit with what potential that we have gitu ya. But the point is we need to start to build an authentic personal digital brand, because the results or the impact or the benefit from building the personal digital branding is not instant. It's not only now. We can gain and receive the benefit in the long term. Like we build the digital reputation or our reputation, it also need a time. It also need consistency. So if not now to start, so when gitu. Jadi so the fresh graduate needs to start. That's the point. Need to start to build their personal digital branding. For the fresh graduate, the important thing is to open their opportunity, so the employer can differentiate key or differentiates the individual from the other candidates. That is the benefit in this in this first stage. But in the next or in the long term, we can gain more benefit. We can positioning our competencies that people can differentiate me, for example, with the other because of the interest that we have, because the potential or competency that we have. So I think the highlight is authentic personal digital branding. And about the should or should not, from my experience with Miss Melissa in organizing the internship program in our university, in our faculty, we have a lot of discussion with the employer, with the industry, and then we learn to mapping and matching the competencies. So start from that, we see that the students and the final year student and fresh graduate really need to aware and then manage their social media to present their competency. So the personal digital branding in here, the main thing is about the authentic, how to deliver their competencies, like the portfolio. That is the first step for the final year student and fresh graduate. Maybe that's all that I can answer the question for Miss Jesslyn. Thank you.
Okay, is that
Thank
enough,
you,
Miss
Miss
Jesslyn, for the
Jenny.
answer? Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for the answer. I think that's the point is the for this generation, it's really important to build a personal branding in social media or in another digital platform. Maybe if you love to write, Jesslyn, maybe you can write in another platform like Kompasiana maybe or Blogspot maybe, right? Because
Or
it's
you
not only
can
about
use a storytelling in your social media to, I mean, like a soft selling your competencies. Yeah, maybe you have a potential in public speaking or something. But you can tell the audiences or the people through the storytelling, copywriting. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree with that because it's not only about social media like Facebook or Instagram or maybe Twitter, but maybe another platform. Maybe if you love to write like some what is that? This science paper. Maybe you can start to write more papers so you can publish your paper as well. I think it's okay because in this era, it's really true that all of the employer looking for the new employee through their social media, because social media is not only how to show off, but also to create networks. I think to create new networks with new people, because we cannot move anywhere in this pandemic era. So I think that social media will be one of the solutions. Okay, thank you very much for the discussion, for the participants and all the presenters. I'm really happy in here because we can share our thought, we can share our paper in here. It's really I have to close this session, but before that, I want to conclude some of the discussion. Yeah, and this forum is about media culture and society, and because this pandemic era, so the sorry so in this pandemic era, so the culture is also about digital era. It's also about the new trends in organizations maybe, and also in personal branding maybe, and also we can flashback as well in the core of the moral value using the music, the traditional music as well, like what the paper has presented by Miss Bernadetta and the team, right? Because when we talk about the media culture and society, we not only about talking about the technology itself, but also on the society. It will be useless if we talk about the technology 5.0, 6.0, or 10.0, but we never talk about the society itself, how the society built, how the society live in this era, in this modern era. So maybe we can reflect to ourselves, is the technology in digital in this era will be really affected our life, or we need to just stop and reflect on the moral value using the more deeper value like traditional music, or maybe traditional stories, yeah, traditional stories, or maybe like folklore and etc. Maybe we can start to looking at that point as well. And maybe that's all the conclusion for me. Thank you very much for attending this session. Maybe we can close the session with take a picture together. Maybe all of the participants and all of the presenters can open their camera. Okay, Ibu Ratna Widyaningrum, please open your camera if you may. Okay, maybe not. That's okay. Okay, co-host, can you help to capture, or I will capture for the parallel session.
Yes.
Okay.
1, 2,
3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you very much for all the presenters and good luck and stay healthy. Maybe we can see in another opportunities not in a pandemic, not in a virtual conference, but in a real conference. Okay. I'm Cecilia Santi, and thank you very much for all the attendees and all of the participants. And we can see again. See you.
Thank you.
I
Thank
close.
you very
Terima
much.
kasih, Cecilia. Kak Jesslyn.